Hello, everyone, and welcome to my presentation. Thank you for joining me today. In this session, I will be critically evaluating a rich play based learning experiences from the video, connecting with practice, discovering, making music. This outdoor music station created using pots, pans, rods, and everyday objects that we see is a great example of how children explore sound, creativity, collaboration with their peers, teachers, and self expression through open ended play. So, in today's presentation, I will discuss how children reflected on their learning, how they engaged with the experience, what learning took place, and how we know those learning outcomes were achieved. I will also consider how we could extend the learning further, what additional resources might support that learning, and how this learning experience aligns with the early years learning framework as well as national regulations, national laws, and national quality standard. So let's begin the presentation with children's reflection on their own learning. So, one really important part of this clip is how naturally children communicated their reflections. Even though they were not sitting in a structured reflection circle, their commands and behaviors shows deep awareness of what they were discovering. For example, Jay says, "It feeds when sliding the metal rod through the pipe." This is a clear moment of cognitive recognition. She is testing a hypothesis, seeing a result when verbalizing her discovery. Later, she says, "Hey, this is good for conducting." This is a beautiful moment of metacognition. She is thinking about what she is doing, relating to the real world, knowledge about music, interpreting, and her action as meaningful. The boy reflects through language too, saying, "That's a nice sound." This command isn't just descriptive, it shows him analyzing sensory feedback, comparing sound, and forming preferences. This is early evaluative thinking. This small, spontaneous statement are powerful examples of reflection in action, which Sean 1983 describes as thinking while doing. So, what we see is that children make reflective comments when the learning environment feels safe, open, and responsive, which exactly what Early Years Learning Framework version 2 emphasizes under the practice of learning environments, learning that is emergent, responsive, and co-constructed. So on this slide, I will be talking about how children engaged with the learning. The first one says exploration. They explored sound through experimentation, like hitting, scrubbing, tapping, sliding, dropping the metal rods and sticks. So collaboration, they engaged in collaboration, helping each other hold materials, sharing space, and guiding each other's play. They also used imagination, from conducting to pretending a long green pipe was a microphone. So physical skills, they used their bodies, gross motor movements like banging pens, and fine motor precision like sliding rods through the pipes. They also showed social engagement, responding to each other's ideas, laughing, taking turns. So their engagement was driven by curiosity, not adult direction. The educator stayed present and observant while allowing children control over the activity. This reflects our early years learning framework version 2, which view children as capable learners, and the practice of intentional teaching, which includes stepping back. So on this slide, I will be talking about what children learning that occurred. A wide range of learning was happening in a musical play. So I will break down into key domains. Like, first one is cognitive learning. Children experimented with cause and effect. What happens if I hit the pot harder? What happens if I drop the rod through the pipe? How does the sound change with different tools? This is an early scientific inquiry, tasting and drawing conclusions. The second one is physical learning. They structured both fine and gross motor skills through grappling sticks and rods, coordinating hands to hit the target, moving around the space, and also maintaining the balance while exploring. So the third one is social learning. The clip shows beautiful social interactions, helping each other, sharing materials, also taking turns at the microphone, laughing together, reading each other's cues. So children negotiated space and resources respectfully. This is a key aspect of learning outcome one, strong sense of identity. So the fourth one is emotional learning. Children expressed joy, excitement, curiosity, and pride. They persisted when something didn't work and celebrated when they solved a problem, such as getting a rod to slide through. Resilience, confidence, and well-being were clearly present during the activity. So the fifth one is creative and language learning. So creativity was at the heart of this experience, like creating rhythms, inventing musical roles like drummer, conductor, singer, experimenting with volume, tempo, and pitch, using descriptive language like nice sound or conducting. Language was meaningful and authentic because it emerged naturally from the play. So, on this slide, we will look into how we know what learning outcomes were achieved. By linking what we observed to early years learning framework learning outcomes, we can confidently identify the learning. So, outcome one, children have a strong sense of identity was achieved. They expressed themselves confidently. They interacted positively with their peers and also showed agency by choosing how to explore during the activity. Outcome two, children are connected with and contribute to their world was also achieved since they collaborated and negotiated. They also shared responsibility for materials and space. Outcome three, children have a strong sense of well being. So they engaged in physical movement and they also expressed emotions openly through music. So outcome 4 talks about children are confident and involved learners. This is also the strongest outcome in the video, like experimentation, problem solving, persistence, curiosity, making predictions, testing ideas. This experience is a perfect example of outcome 4.2. Children develop dispositions for learning such as creativity, persistence, and imagination. So, learning outcome 5, children are effective communicators. They also use language for thinking and reflecting. They use sound, rhythm, and gestures to communicate. They explored symbolic representation through musical play. The learning aligns clearly with multiple early years learning framework outcomes, showing this experience was highly valuable and developmentally rich. So on this slide, I will be talking about extensions for future learning. There are many ways to deepen and extend this learning experience. So one extension could include exploring cultural music by introducing drums, instruments, or rhythms from diverse cultures represented in children's community. Another extension may involve recording children's sound and playing them back to explore volume, pitch, and tempo more intentionally. Children could create their own instruments using recycled materials, which introduces sustainability and creativity. So, another simple musical vocabulary such as beat, rhythm, and tempo could strengthen early literacy and conceptual understanding. Children may also explore drawing their music using symbolic marks supporting outcome 5 and pre-writing skills to encourage dramatic play. So educators or teachers can set up a stage or a concert area with scarves, microphones, or costumes that could invite deeper expression. So these extensions honor children's interests and align with the early years learning framework planning cycle. So moving from observation to planning for richer, more complex learning. So the additional resources that can broaden learning possibilities. While the existing environment already offers rich opportunities, additional open ended materials could broaden learning into different ways or like more possibilities. So, this might include PVC pipes of different lengths, wooden blocks, bamboo mallets that produces varied tones on natural materials such as seed pods and smooth stones. Also, by adding water filled bowls or metal sheets, could introduce vibration, resonance, and calming sound exploration. So, like clipboards, pencils, and visual charts could support children who enjoy recording or drawing what they notice. So, if available, real microphones connected to speakers could deepen communication and role play. So, all resources must remain flexible to avoid directing the play too rigidly. The goal is to enhance creativity, not replace it with structured instruction. So, I would like to throw a question on you like, were the outcomes achieved? And how do we know that if the outcomes were achieved or not? So, the learning outcomes for the activity were clearly met, and we could see this through the children's behavior, the level of engagement, the words they used, how they planned with others, and how they solved the problems. For example, children stayed at the activity for a longer period of time, trying different ways to make sounds, showing real curiosity and independence. So, one child experimented by tapping a pot gently and then harder, mm, saying, "This one is loud," while other child invited a friend to join in, showing communication and teamwork. Children continued exploring on their own without needing any adult to tell them what to do, which shows they were confident and learning through discovery. The educator helped by making sure all children could reach the material safely, reminding them to take turns and offering gentle guidance. This interaction supported learning across all areas like creativity, autonomy, communication, and social skills. The setup of the environment and educators' action also aligned well with the national quality standard, especially Quality Area 1 and Quality Area 5. Quality Area 1 talks about educational program and practice, and Quality Area 5 talks about relationship with children. To show evidence of the children's learning, the educator could collect um, or document photos, short notes about what children said or did, or even recording the children making themselves. This could be used as a part of early years learning framework planning cycle to reflect on the experience and plan what we can do next. So this program fits well with the national law and regulation. So Regulation 73 says that all learning programs must be based on an approved learning framework, and this experience clearly shows and follows the ideas and practices of Early Years Learning Framework version 2. Regulation 155 focuses on positive and respectful interactions, and we saw this through the way children work together and through the educators' calm and gentle support. Regulation 113 serves services to provide natural and recycled materials that encourage creativity, which is exactly what metal pots, pens, and other found objects offered. So, in terms of national quality standard, this activity aligns with Quality Area 1 because it supports meaningful learning, Quality Area 3 because it uses a well designed environment, and Quality Area 5 because it builds positive relationships between children and adults. So, the Early Years Learning Framework version 2 practices shown most strongly in this experience include play based learning, intentional teaching, being responsive to children's idea, and also creating a rich environment and assessing children's learning through observation. The educator also demonstrated cultural responsiveness and supported children's agency by letting them to make choices and lead their own learning, both of which are key principles to early years learning framework. So, the Discovering Making Music experience demonstrates the richness of open ended child led exploration within early childhood education. Through sound, movement, collaboration, children engaged deeply in cognitive, emotional, physical, and creative learning. Their spontaneous reflections revealed metacognition and growing understanding. The environments and teachers' role enabled meaningful engagement aligned with Early Years Learning Framework version 2, national law, regulations, and national quality standard expectations. With opportunities for thoughtful extensions, this experience can continue to foster inquiry, cultural learning, and expressive arts. Ultimately, this program highlights how simple materials and responsive teaching can support complex learning, autonomy, and joyful discovery. Thank you so much for your time and attention today. I really truly appreciate your engagement and interest throughout the presentation. Please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or would like to explore any of the concepts further. Thank you again for being here and for the important work you do every day.